I'd like to tell them to go to hucksdefeatmovie.com. They can use the contact form on that page, see all about the film. I highly recommend that if they have reenactment gear and want to be extras in the movie, they contact us now. I also suggest that if they want to invest in this movie project, they need to contact us now. It is a great opportunity. We want to see this entire project go forward to the very end at the cow pens when they leave the state and run the British out of town.
You are listening to Historyman, the platform for historians, curators, and authors to tell their stories of the American Revolution, walk in the footsteps of heroes, and proclaim freedom reigns. On today's episode, we are fortunate and excited to have a trio of creative personalities who have come together to make a movie entitled Huck's Defeat, the battle that turned the tide against the British invasion of South Carolina. Award-winning writer and director Edgar Bravo, through his No Restriction studio, has teamed up with production manager Larry Shull and award-winning historian author Richard Meehan to create this wonderful story set in the upstate of South Carolina during the American Revolutionary War. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello. Good, Eric.
Edgar, you have kind of planted your flag in the Piedmont of North and South Carolina in the last few years. Years ago in Shelby, North Carolina, Earl Owensby created a movie studio and carved out a niche in the industry. But when you think about the upstate, when you think about the Piedmont of South Carolina, you don't really necessarily think about the movie industry. So why this story at this time?
Well, as you know, my company for the last 12 years was in Los Angeles making independent films, and we wanted to grow the company. And so I started searching for a place that would welcome the kind of films I want to make. And so I went on a nationwide search and ended up in South Carolina through some writers and some businessmen who invited me. So last year I did the first feature film in Spartanburg, and those producers, the executive producers, are business people of the upstate, and they believed in the future of film in the upstate. And in the middle of making my other movie, which is a supernatural film, they gave me a book by Walter Edgar and said, you should read some of these stories and stuff. I said, okay, because I love history. But even someone like me who loves history and knows quite a bit about history, I had no idea what the role of South Carolina was in, especially the upstate, in the Revolutionary War. So I said, oh, wow. But even more important was after I realized the crucial aspect of these battles here that the people of the upstate fought were the stories, the human stories that were. I look in my movies, I try to find movies like that have a universal appeal because they have something to say that transcends time. Like The Godfather. What do I know about mafia in New York in 1950? But the story of power and all that we all can relate to. So the first story that really got me was the story that was the turning point. When Martha Bratton and her husband were discussing what to do next, Charleston had fallen. The British were the #1 army in the world. They thought they were just going to, come through South Carolina. So the story of the courage and the determination against overwhelming odds, it looked like, really got me from Martha Bratton's point of view and her husband and a loyalist named John Adamson. So that story grabbed me, and I said, I think this story has an appeal that is universal appeal in terms of like everyone can relate to trying to protect your family, trying to keep your freedom. And not everybody, thank God, can relate to the overwhelming difficulties that the South Carolina people of the upstate had to go through to fight and win, essentially. And so that's what got me into the movie. And then I met Rick, who lent me one of his books to read, and it has to do with his era. So I said, I looked into Rick's background, and Rick is like an expert in this because we wanted to make it as authentic as possible. And it was a challenge because to make sure it has dramatic drive and so forth, and be completely accurate, like every event that occurred leading up to the battle of the Williamson Plantation, of Huck's defeat. We wanted to do, and Rick has been fantastic. And Rick is also, besides being amazing in history, he's a good writer in terms of drama and understand the novel. I think this is his first screenplay that he worked with me on, or any screenplay. But he's already written books, and he's a proven talent.
It's a fantastic story. It's one of my favorites. I actually grew up in York County. And when they did the reopening, they had done some rehabilitation of that particular property. And years ago, when they did a reopening, I was there as a Boy Scout. I mean, this is in the 80s,
Wow.
Late 70s, early 80s, and I was out there. This is kind of my stomping grounds. So it's a great story. It really is. You know, when you think about South Carolina, just from a historian perspective, the amount of battles, the amount of skirmishes, the amount of stories, the amount of diversity within the state. You have the Low Country planters. You had Richland County, or in the center of the state, you had a whole bunch of Germans who
Right.
wanted to stay loyal to the king. But in the upstate, you had a great deal of Scotch-Irish and Irish, and people who were on the borderlands of the Indian country and had to, what a tough place to live and eke out a living. I know you've written several books. Give us a kind of a rundown of some of the titles and where we can find your books as you tell us about your perspective of Martha Bratton and William Bratton.
Okay. Ford the Packlet is my favorite historical work. Most of my other histories are not fiction, but I love writing fiction stories. My past history and fiction, lots of science fiction stuff out there. Cometary Tales is one anthology that I put together with a bunch of my science fiction stories. But I got started in historical fiction when I was in college at Wofford College here in Spartanburg, way back in the early 80s. Had a professor that was kind enough to introduce me to South Carolina literature. Unfortunately, we don't teach South Carolina history very well in our schools. And thankfully, people are beginning to focus on that issue now so that we can actually learn about our heritage in the Revolutionary War in a classroom so that we don't have to go and find it out on our own. We've got tremendous volumes of resources that I love to glean through. As a general writing deal, the way I actually made money was as a marketing expert for my company. I think I mentioned that a little earlier. But in order to actually sell writing, you have to sell writing. So being a marketing person, it's never an easy road, but at least I know that I have to get out there and plug my work. So I'm very grateful to you and others like you that'll let me talk once in a while about my stuff. One of my favorite areas is called Grendel Shoals, which is a non-existent Revolutionary War site these days. It's just a place on the Packlet River at Highway 18 in Jonesville, South Carolina. Back in the early 80s, my father and I and a couple other fellas that were friends of his purchased a large piece of property, turned it into a hunting preserve, and found out afterwards that it was the site where Daniel Morgan and his Continental Army encamped the 3 weeks prior to the Battle of Cowpens. After further investigation, I found out that the property was owned by the Loyalist Captain Alexander Chesney, who was infamous in the area for persecuting the Whigs. And then it snowballed from there. And after about 30 years of research, I decided that I would tell those stories in Ford the Packlet. And I also used, and I take a real hit for this, The town of Pacolet, Pacolet, I used the original spelling, which has an H in it, Pach, and they don't like that. But the fact is, you used to be called Buzzard's Roost.
When you go up into the upstate and you see where all the rivers are coming through and the lush green and the rolling foothills of the upstate, and you start reading the stories, whether it's from Draper or Walter Edgar, as Edgar was talking about, you can't help but picture those particular moments so many years ago that has such an impact, not only on our country, the founding of our country, but really freedom in the whole world. And as we approach the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War, I think this team, Edgar and Rick and Larry, are really at the cusp of something big. So I hope this project really turns into something huge, not only for y'all, but for the rest of the country. Larry, tell us a little bit about your role in this particular production.
Not a lot to tell. I don't have a background in writing, and I don't have a background in history, just an interest in it. I'm old, I'm contrary as hell, but Rick and Edgar invited me in because I can count beans. I can try to keep everybody on track. I have a career in textiles. I was in textile management, then in textile sales, machinery sales, capital equipment, that sort of thing. So I'm accustomed to budgets, and I can hold someone to account. That's about all. But I have an extreme interest. I truly believe in what Edgar and Rick have put together. I believe that it can transform the thought process of the children, not only in South Carolina and North Carolina, but the entire East Coast, the 13 colonies. We need to know the truth. People need to know that the war was basically won here in the South. And it's been buried long enough. And this can open up those doors. So here I am.
So when you talk about any creative project, you talk about marketing within the movie industry, and I certainly don't claim to have any knowledge of the movie industry at all other than watching movies and enjoying them. But I would think that there would be tiers of approach when you make a movie where you would plug this particular movie at first, hoping that it gains traction. Edgar, where do you hope to find your niche with this movie?
Well, this one, because of the 250 celebration, we're going to find our niche first in the area around South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, and so forth. There's a lot of people who are interested in this particular subject matter. So we're going to have a limited theatrical release in the area. And then after that, we're going to release it on the bigger platforms, Amazon, Hulu, those kind of things. Because as you said, nobody else in the country knows what happened out here. They all thought it happened over on the East Coast. So I think it'll have a lot of interest because if you see, there's like these shows called Washington Spies and other ones from that era, and they have several seasons of it because there's an interest all over the country about it. But rarely do they focus on what happened here from Huck's defeat battle to cowpens. And I'm not sure if Rick had told you, but our plan is once we do this first one, we want to do at least 6 to 7 more of the key battles that led to cowpens. But the interesting part that will make it a broader appeal is that in each of these battles, there are human stories that people can relate to, like Martha in Huck's defeat. So in each battle, there's all these issues of survival and endurance and terrible tragedies. So, but how they overcame them. So each one, I think, will have an appeal, and hopefully by the time we're done, people will go, "Oh, so that's what happened out there in the upstate."
Yeah.
Because nobody knows.
Having been an upstate guy and knowing the stories of Huck's defeat, Kings Mountain, walking Kings Mountain before it was ever even paved. I'm sure, Rick, you were up there, during that time where you could trip over a root or whatever. And it's just part of the soul of the people in the upstate, especially around York County and Cherokee County and Spartanburg. But you've got these other battles. Camden was lost, but a couple of days later, the Patriots won at Musgrove Mills. And then, you had British are winning over to the east, but the Patriots are winning just to the west of them at Musgrove Mills in the same area that you were talking about, the upstate, Spartanburg, that sort of thing. I mean, the British really ran up against these settlers, these Scotch-Irish settlers, right after they won Camden. All of a sudden it changed for them, so they ran up against some real pushback, and Huck's defeat is just kind of a microcosm of the war in many respects. Kudos to y'all for finding this story and magnifying it, and I hope that it really does get traction, and I hope that it is a series, because we are so visual now in our learning that y'all were right at the cutting edge to this, especially if you have those platforms that everybody can see. The world is changing, and y'all were at the cutting edge. So kudos to y'all for that.
I think it'll be wonderful that the first wave of showing the movie in the upstate area and Tennessee and all these local areas, and hopefully the youth will be able to have their interest sparked because they're watching a movie that has all the war, the violence, the love, all the things that a good movie does when it keeps your attention. And we're hoping that it'll kind of spark a little bit more interest among the young, not to forget what happened and what got us to this place. And actually, as Rick was doing a lot of the research and told me and showed me, what the youth here should know, that the battles, 70% were fought by 17, 16, 18-year-olds. Andrew Jackson was 15. So it was their energy, along with the wisdom of the older ones, the commanders, that got them to keep fighting and getting through what could have been horrible defeats.
Right. You're exactly right. I mean, they did some reinterment of bodies here at the Battle of Camden site, and several of those bodies, they were teenagers. Their growth plates in the skulls had not really formed, so they were still 13, 14, 15 years old, dying on the battlefield for the liberties that we take for granted every day now. Those were 14, 15, 16-year-old kids that were dying on that battlefield and that were interred there in the battlefield.
And that's what, to me, why film is so powerful besides the story. That World War II movie with Tom Hanks, the opening shot of D-Day storming, you just felt like you were there, with the bullets and everything. You could feel the horror and terror of war. Well, part of what you do in a dramatic movie is, you've never seen what it's like when a young man is shot in the shoulder and his friend is next to him, and the terror and what it takes to have the strength to overcome that fear afterwards. But first you got to show it and get the people to be in there like they're there, because this is not a documentary. That's a totally different type of media. This is where we try to get you emotionally involved, and you feel like I felt when I first saw the opening scene in that World War II movie. I was going, oh my God, I don't know what I would do watching people's arms being blown off. And it was just, but it brought you into that world and go, this is a serious, real world. And it emotionally grabbed you. So we're going to have a very good quality film with moments like that, but also the moments of tenderness, the moments of love. So it'll be a well-rounded film, So I have to say that because sometimes people think we're just going to make a lecture series, and in high school they start to fall asleep sometimes on these lecture series. So
that's exactly right. So when do you hope to have this movie out?
We hope to, we're aiming now to shoot in the first week of September. And we want to have the film ready for just before July 4th to celebrate independence.
So July 4th next year, 2026.
Yes. Yes.
Outstanding. Well, that's great. Well, we've reached a point in our episode, where I asked the big question. So what does liberty mean to this team? What does liberty mean to you?
Well, for me, liberty is the ability, exactly what is written in our documents, that just, the search for happiness, the freedom of worship, all the basic human things that help you navigate through this mystery of life. Especially as you get older, you realize, wow, this is a crazy experience. So to me, liberty is that. It can, to me, a little bit of it is like, do unto others as you would have be done unto you. And sometimes it's very difficult to keep that liberty because you get horrible forces trying to crush it for their own reasons. So to me, that's what it is. That's what, and that's why I love the whole series, because you see human, struggles and battles and overcoming, some falling, some rising, just the way it is in life, and throughout history. We've had these kind of episodes. So that it is for me. I don't know about you, Larry or Rick, but that's what it is for me.
I agree, Edgar. To me, liberty is exactly what our Declaration of Independence says. It's the right to pursue our lives to the fullest extent. And what in Rick's writing for the Packlet and the script that he and Edgar have put together on this movie, what you're going to see is you're going to see families. It's not just the kids, the young men. It's not just the old men. It's the whole families that are involved in this fight for freedom. All of them had to participate. They had to support each other, and they did it. They proved that they could. And what they did is the very reason that we have the liberties that we have today.
That's true. I agree with that.
There is a reason that Gadsden created the flag, "Don't tread on me." I don't like extreme government control, and it gets in the way of my personal pursuit of happiness.
Right.
I am perfectly happy doing my writing, and I don't have to worry about someone coming to my door with a gun saying, "Stop writing."
Exactly, right. Yeah, trying to edit how you should see the world or experience or express the world from your point of view. You have the right to do that. And I think it's a very valuable thing. And when that starts to erode, well, we're going to have a lot of troubles.
Well, y'all were definitely voices of reason and voices of freedom in the world today. And it's a window of learning, not just for our young people, but also for our adults who have, I think over the course of time, we've kind of mellowed in what exactly our freedoms represent. What freedoms are you willing to draw the line in the sand for? When you go back to these stories that y'all were trying to magnify and memorialize in film, I think y'all have a big task ahead of y'all to not only re-educate but to educate the young ones as they come along. A window of learning for the young ones as well as the adults. Edgar, I'm going to turn it over to you and just give you this opportunity to plug the movie and plug your projects and the series that you're hoping to make one more time.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, as I said, my last film, the first film I did when I first moved here to Spartanburg is called Little Box of Hope. And you can find that in Amazon. You just type it in the search thing. And there's many other movies that I've made when I was in Los Angeles, but I'm particularly proud of this one because I did it with a lot of local people and it has high quality. And that's the thing that one of the other reasons why I moved here, besides the business contacts that I had made, is that there are, unknown to a lot of people, there's a lot of talented actors and filmmakers that are in the upstate, but they generally do short films because, feature films are very expensive. But they're very talented people, and there is a beginning growth of I think when we finish creating the company we want to create here, we want to be able to give a voice and vehicle to these people who have stories of the upstate, and they want to create features out of them, and we can help guide them through that. So that's a little bit of what I wanted to plug, because I came here not just to make a movie. I've already made 9 features already. It's to create a company that would do independent film, exactly what we were talking about, your freedom to express yourself, and create a company with the infrastructure, the staff, that we can find these great stories that people have, and we can guide them through this process of how to get them into the market, how to film them, how to do all of that. That was my main goal moving here, and I'm working with Larry also on that. And Rick, we're trying to prepare that too. So it's not just one movie or a series. We want to do quite a few things here in South Carolina.
Well, I'm pumped. I'm pumped as a historian. I'm pumped as a South Carolinian. I'm pumped as a person who traces their lineage all the way up and down the Catawba River Valley. Although I mean, when you talk about the over the mountain men and you talk about North and South Carolina, that's my heritage is North and South Carolina.
Right.
So I am just freaking excited. I really am, and I hope everybody can jump on board. And I look forward to the movie coming out. I look forward to all of your projects and your new studios. Tell us how people can find your studios and find some of the projects.
I'd like to tell them to go to hucksdefeatmovie.com. They can use the contact form on that page, see all about the film. I highly recommend that if they have reenactment gear and want to be extras in the movie, they contact us now. I also suggest that if they want to invest in this movie project, they need to contact us now. It is a great opportunity. We want to see this entire project go forward to the very end at the cow pens when they leave the state and run the British out of town. To add a little bit more to it, but that contact form is going to be very important.
Yes, I would like to say, Eric, that we're working on the paperwork now. As soon as that's available, I think Rick will probably incorporate it into the website. But we will be seeking financing. We would like to get everyone involved that we possibly can. So we'll have that forward as quickly as we can.
That's fantastic. I appreciate it, fellas. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing the projects as they come out. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.